Hey everyone, welcome into TexAgs Rewind presented by T-Mobile here on this President's Day. And T-Mobile wants to remind everybody to visit T-Mobile.com/across America to learn more how you can get value in coverage with T-Mobile. All right, the show was about the dramatic walk-off victory for the Aggies there on Sunday against Fordham. We had to get into that and the great weekend it was. And of course, we had to talk some hoops on the show. Bronny came in for OB, who's in Vegas, loving every second of that, I'm sure. We talked about that big weekend for Logan Britt, or the walk-off, I should say. Then we had Jim Schlossnagle on the show, talking about everything that happened over the weekend and transpired and looking ahead to the future. TV's Tom Hart joined us from the SEC Network and ESPN and had a lot of thoughts on what happened with Juwan Howard and Buzz Williams. Still searching for answers as he broke down the latest loss there to Vandy. It's TexAgs Rewind. The at-bats have been nice, and you
I like the Rylan Wiggins. I like her. Middle infielder for the softball team. She's playing second. And then they got a Coco Woolley as the freshman playing short. And I think Wiggins is a sophomore. So they're young up the middle, but they're really talented.
You mentioned in the last segment you want to get into Logan Britt's at-bat, which was dramatic in many
Right. The way it ended, right? But it's kind of it was kind of like a culmination of all of his at-bats on the weekend. Mm-hmm. So I stood next to Tyler Naquin on Friday night in the opener, and Tyler's ate up with baseball. Like, he's been in the big leagues for 6 years now, had his best year of his career last year in Cincinnati. He said, he talked a lot about bouncing ideas off of Joey Votto and how close he and Votto had gotten, and Joey Votto is one of the best, hitters of his generation. Yeah. And so just listening to Tyler talk about stuff and how he was explaining things at the big league level right now, and I have a bunch of information, and baseball's a game, and just like anything other thing in life, like once you assume that you know everything, you're going to really decline in your abilities as a coach, and that arrogance tends to come back and bite you. And so I like to listen to as many guys talk about hitting as I can, and just if I can pick 2 or 3 things that they say and add it to my vernacular when I'm trying to help my kids, it's going to make me a better coach, right? So sitting there talking about Logan's at-bats on Friday, and like Tyler was just talking about, him getting ready to hit, like be ready to hit kind of thing. And you go and you start looking through Logan's at-bats through the course of the weekend, and like on Saturday, I don't know, I think he had 1 hit, but he had a couple of balls in RBI spots. Like, he didn't produce in a couple of 2-out RBI spots, and I believe they were really high infield pop-ups. To me, that means he's really close, right? Like, so hitting is so inconsistent that as hitters, you have to be really consistent in the stuff that you do. In the stuff that you do. We call it make your move. Like, no matter what the outcome of your swing is, get your best swing off. Make your move at the baseball. So I thought on Saturday, even though he didn't have the huge production, Logan Britt, he was making his move. So the margin of error is minuscule when you're swinging a baseball bat. It goes back to the Reggie Jackson thing. Round bat, round ball, got to hit it square, right? So if you hit a ball by a millimeter, it's going to completely alter what it does. It's why it's the hardest thing to do in sports. That's why 30% success rate is really, really good. So Logan Britt has a couple of swings where he's on time, he's on a barrel, and he hits a mile-high pop-up. And everybody's like, we're popping up. That's a really good swing. Like, he's just hitting that ball really, really hard, potentially extra base hits, home runs. Well, look what happens on Sunday. He's on time now, right? I'm not missing that little millimeter. So, like, every day it got a little bit progressively better. Like, he had 2 hits in the opener. I liked the second hit, a rocket up the middle for an RBI single late in that game after it kind of had blown open. But I liked his swings more as the weekend went on. So, and he gets into that situation yesterday. By the way, I love what Jim Schlossnagle said in the postgame. I think Robert Cessna asked him, did the thought of bunting cross your mind? Right, he said, no, I'm with Logan Britt at the plate in a south wind, and who's hitting behind him, which was Cole Kaler. Like, I'm trying to win the game. So what would have happened is if Logan Britt would have gotten to a full count and he would have walked or gotten to first base and been first and second, no outs, that's when you would have seen Jim Schlossnagle bunt. it would have been sack bunt with Cole Kaler, your best bunter. Okay, so to get you in a second and third with one out and Austin Bose coming to the plate. Well, guess what Fordham probably would have done to Austin Bose? Walked him. Bases loaded, one out. So, and with what might be your best pure hitter coming to the plate in Jack Moss. So Jim Schlossnagle that's how far ahead he was with his game plan in the ninth inning. That's why Logan Britt doesn't bunt. He's also has the potential to win the game with one swing, and it was a perfect answer by Schloss, and it kind of gave the Aggie baseball fan base, a glimpse inside of the mind of Jim Schlossnagle and how much different it is than what's been here in previous years. So in that at bat, it's kind of the maturation of Logan Britt. He fouls off 3 or 4 pitches. You know, last year he was a lot of swing through, swing and miss. And he kept fighting pitches off. And he gets to the 9th pitch of the at bat, and he gets an absolute cookie in the middle of the plate, which he earned because he didn't punch.
Right.
You know, he kept battling, and he got a cookie in the middle of the plate on the 9th pitch of the at-bat, which means mentally he won the battle. Physically, obviously, he won it, but mentally he stuck his nose in there, and he kept grinding, and he kept winning pitches until that joker made a mistake, and he punished it. And so, like, again, if this is the Logan Britt we're going to see, like I said last segment about Trevor Werner, if this is the Logan Britt that A&M's going to get all year, look out. A&M going into the season, and I'm not taking – this is Jim Schlossnagle's words, not mine. They needed a lot of what-ifs to go their way. Obviously, you want all the games to end up being like Friday night where it's 13-1 and you can run out some guys that you maybe got questions on, but you learn more about a coach in tight ball games. And on Saturday and Sunday gave you a chance to really kind of use some of your trusted bullpen arms. And I want to go back to the Robert Hogan situation. And he enters a game with second and third, 2 outs. And look, I know how the conversations go when a guy comes in to pitch, but one thing that got a lot of response on our message board, Coach, was how you handled him having that mental lapse and thinking that there was 1 out when he came into the dugout. That was noticed by a lot of people. I know how that conversation goes, but when a kid does that, it kind of take us through what the meeting was like in the dugout between innings.
There isn't really a whole lot to say. I don't even remember what I did other than I know I said, well, you know, I don't have a drill for that. I can't make, you know, I got nothing to, you know, remind you how many outs there are. But, you know, that's a young man who's really talented, who got sped up in the moment. And the one thing I do every time I bring a pitcher in is look him in the face and remind them how many outs there are, and remind them, you know, hey, make sure you guys are squared away on the signs, and you know that kind of stuff. But he's a new guy, and he got sped up in the moment. And but the key was he made the pitches he needed to make, and then he went back out in the 9th inning and finished the game off. So if we're going to have any level of success, you know, we need him to be a big part of it. So, you know, we just got to show some confidence in him that way.
All right, Tom, let's go around the SEC quickly with the Ags suffering another loss there to Vandy. That's been their story this year during SEC play. It's like they're close. They just can't fire when it matters there in the last couple of minutes for the big bulk of this SEC play, but really the 9 of 10 games.
Well, I think what's frustrating, and I'm sure it's frustrating for Buzz, is that coming off the heels of what was a great win against Florida, where you made plays down the stretch. You made your free throws when you had to literally to win the game. So yeah, it's also where the league is right now. I mean, it's topsy-turvy in a lot of different ways and for a lot of different reasons. But the bottom line is the top, 4 or 5 teams are elite, and I don't think there's any arguing that. And so what you have is the bottom 2/3 of the league. I look at it 2 ways. You can say, well, anybody can beat anybody on any given night, and that's true. But also, a lot of teams can lose at any time. You know, Mississippi State almost lost to Missouri last night after beating them Friday night handedly. And Mississippi State, a team that's trying to get into the tournament, can't afford those losses. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. That was from the Vandy side, just big picture. that was a big win for Jerry Stackhouse. You know, he needs some quality wins, he needs some momentum, and that was it. Kind of proved it. They're a different team now late in the year. You got the 7-footer back. They play great offense when they run the ball through the post, and they only had one guy to do it for most of the year in Quentin Malora-Brown, and now they've got a few more weapons.
You know, I've been very transparent with our team all along over the last month about everything. And I'm not saying that that's right, but I do think that it's right for their life. I don't think that it's right to dodge something, to act like it's not there, to not bring attention to it. As they grow into men, that's part of life. You have to accept where you are, and you have to work to achieve whatever it is that you're going to achieve. We're 16-11. We've done some good things. We started 15-2, and then we could go through each of the losses and justify it in some sort of way. But at the end of the day, we're 5-9. We have 2 weeks in the regular season left, 2 at home, 2 on the road, 1 of each week. I actually think I haven't seen our guys today. We'll meet here in just a little bit to begin to review and prepare for Georgia. I think the thing that we need to concentrate on now is how can we get a little bit better today and be completely focused on how we can get better and how we can prepare for Georgia today. And then tomorrow, before the game, how can we concentrate just a little bit more on whatever it is that the game plan is specific to Georgia in shoot around. And then the same exact thing during the game. Like the first 4 minutes at Vanderbilt, we did not play hard. We did not play hard. And now it's 10-5. Okay. Oh, goodness. Come on, guys. We've got to turn our motors on. Turn our motors on. Now we're down 1 at half. Don't sit down at halftime. Just keep walking. Hey, Boots, what do we got to do? One thing we got to do to win. Hey, Q, one thing we got to do to win. Gray, one thing we got to do to win. And just talking through those things. And then how do we start the second half, the first 4 minutes? Quick timeout by me. The first media timeout, it's 9-0. Well, if you're only talking about the first 4 minutes of each half, the score is 19-5. Okay, well, that's hard. Now we're down 14. And now nearly every other facet of the game, we have to hit it almost perfect. And it's so difficult to play perfect. And nobody is going to play perfect. But we need to be full throttle on both ends of the floor relative to the scouting report, relative to our plan, and relative to the production of each person, regardless of their minutes, as best we can from start to finish. And so I think the best approach now is let's just do today. And then tomorrow, let's just be focused on tomorrow. I don't know that thinking about, well, we have 4 games left, and what about this? And you saw this game last night, and if this team does that, if that team does that, I don't know that we're in this position or need to have those level of thought processes. I think we have to kind of shrink our thought process and be completely absolved with, no, this is all we're going to talk about today, and this is all we're going to work on today.
All right, I want to remind you guys to like the page, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff that you can do on YouTube or wherever you consume this awesome video. It is greatness. We want to thank, of course, T-Mobile for sponsoring it. We will see you guys next time on TexAgs Rewind.